while he came for me. He had me on his mind, and I'm so glad he came for me. 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 My prophet worked for me. He had me on his mind, and I'm so glad he worked for me. 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 My prophet prayed for me. He had me on his mind, and I'm so glad he prayed for me. In the morning, stood up on my square, faced the east, and there is my prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my God, and my salvation, by night and day, and through his holy prophet, true Ali. Amen. Amen. We should say amen. Amen. Everybody say amen. Amen. It was muted the
The
whole
whole
time.
time?
Islam.
I thought it was.
Islam, praise Allah, honor to the Prophet. Wow.
It was muted the whole time.
Brittany, she just seen it just now. We apologize for the difficulties. We thought it was unmuted.
Right. Well, praise Allah, I could catch them up a little bit.
Okay.
I was but I was reading from chapter 5, Morris. The Great Feast. I was reading from the Great Feast and the way to Samaria.
Right.
Well, I could start by I gave praise and honors. And I told the Moors that you were, well, I thought they heard me. Praise Allah, forgive us, Moors.
Forgive us. We're working on our Sisters Auxiliary anniversary celebration, and Branch Temple number 11 was doing a recording today, so it kind of clashed with today's demonstration. So we apologize again for any inconvenience. Wow.
Right. And I said, I can't see the comments. I said, so if it's muted, I'm not even gonna know.
Wow.
Moors, I'm not. This technical stuff is not very big thing.
It really isn't, and I apologize because we were making sure that you can hear the music and the
right, but didn't really apologize, Moors. But I was talking about when.
Just give a quick short.
First, I'll rise and give praise to Allah, honor to His Prophet, honor to all past leadership, honor to the present leadership, Brother R. Jones Bay, his assistant, Brother A. Hopkins Bay. I give honor to the Grand National Chairman, Brother P.J. Seal and his assistant. Give honor to the Grand National Mufti, Brother J. Fraser Bay, and his special staff. I give honors to all Grand Governors and their assistants, all Grand Sheiks and their assistants. I give honors to our Grand Sheik at Branch Temple 11, Syracuse, New York, who's also the National Press Secretary. Brother Asani El Bay and his assistant, Brother C. Martin Stansu Ill and their special staff. Give honors to all of the members of Branch Temple 11, Syracuse, New York, all the Sheiks. And I give honors to our two flags combined, the American flag and the Moorish flag. I give honors to our charter. I give honors to all the remedies and the literature brought for the uplifting of fallen humanity. And I give honors to man. When man honors man, he honors Father, his Father God, Allah. But I was talking about the fifth chapter 5. I was in chapter 5 and I was explaining that we was going to talk about the Great Feast.
Right.
And I was saying how the Great Feast to us, to some, it may be a physical demonstration when you sit down and you eat food. I said, but I always see the Great Feast also as a spiritual nourishment.
Right.
As food for thought. And so we was talking about the Great Feast, and also I was touching on and their way, and they were, that's not right. This is not right.
And they were in Samaria.
Oh, and I'm missing the word. Oh, and okay, I'm missing the word. And they were in Samaria. And chapter 5, this particular temple in chapter 5, it doesn't have a name, but it says the temple is in Samaria. And Samaria is a city in Jerusalem. And the word Samaria means astute little one, right? And it's no happenings. We know it's not strange. Lord governs all events. That in this particular chapter, Jesus was an astute little one.
Right.
And Samaria also, it's a feminine name, but Samaria means astute little one. And I was going on with saying that's disputing, how he disputed with the doctors of the law, and how disputing is not always negative.
Right.
You can have a healthy dialogue in this demonstration. It shows and proves that, because he was disputing with the doctors of the law, but at the end, they pressed each other's hand. And he said, I trust we meet again, which means the dialogue was very healthy. So as long as we on our principles, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, it's okay to have a healthy dialogue, which today, in the Quran, it says disputing with the doctors of the law. Sometimes we hear the word disputing and we automatically think that is something negative, or they arguing or not so good. But it was just them healthy dialogue.
Right.
With each other. So that's what I was going on over. And I was reading when you came down. I was reading to give the Moors some context. I thought I was at that time. When he said, when it says, one day as he was bringing forth the tools for work, he said, these tools remind us of the ones we handle in the workshop of the mind, with things that made a thought and where we build up character. And I was saying the importance of building up character. The way that we build up character is about using these tools that we handle in the workshop of our mind. But it's easier said than done, because we have to be conscious of what tool to use in what circumstance and what situation and what condition. And I was saying how I always used the axe, and I think I was overusing the axe.
Right.
Cut away the useless, naughty, and ungainly parts because something wasn't agreeable to me. I was always in axe mode, cut it off,
right,
which was not always the right way to go about things. Okay. Sometimes you have to work it out. It's not useless, it's not naughty, and it's not ungainly just because it's not agreeable to you. Or it wasn't agreeable to me. So I started using my compass more, drawing in that circle around my passions and desires and staying within the bounds of righteousness. So these tools, we have to know what tools we're using and when to use it. Right. Because you can misuse your tools. You know, sometimes some people misuse the compass. You know, sometimes some people don't want to deal with certain situations and they'll say, well, I'm drawing a compass around my passions and desires, when it just means that they don't want to deal with the particular drawing a circle. You know, so they'll say they're drawing a circle around their passions and desires. But you want to chime in?
I mean, I hear you and I agree. There should always be a balance in whatever tool we use. You know, if you got to always use the hammer. You can never overly use the hammer. You will always hammer apart. But if I agree, you have to have a balance. Yes. So that you properly carry out and build up your character. You want a balance in doing that. Right. Because I was looking at the title of this, and I'm pretty sure you mentioned the Great Feast. Right. This particular chapter 5, it says, after the feast, the homeward journey, the missing Jesus, the search for him. His parents finds him in the temple. He goes with them to Nazareth. Symbolic meaning of the carpenter's tools. And it's impactful. This chapter is impactful. So, you know, when you speak about building up the character and using the tools in a workshop of the mind where things are made of thought, it still brings us back to the way that we think. Right. So we're just changing the way we think. This is symbolic. These tools are symbolic. And so it helps us to build up our thinking pattern or develop a better way to think. Right. As the prophet said, man need a pattern for his life. He likes to follow, not to lead. So when we develop these patterns and, like you said, drawing a circle around your passions and desire, knowing how to use the axe, consistency always help you to build up your character. So yeah, Brother Barry Bay. And I've thought about, just like Jesus, and when we go into the next chapter as well. Did you go into that chapter? No, I didn't get over there. I was basically running through chapter 5. I was, in fact, So in this city, this is a city of Samaria. This is a sacred city. You spoke about that already. No, I spoke about what it means. Samaria means astute little one. Right. Okay. And the Samaria is a feminine name that means astute little one. And that's the name of the city in Jerusalem, Samaria. Right. And I thought that was an interesting correlation. But, you know, there's no happenings. It's not strange. Right. Lord governs all events. At 12 years old, he was an astute little one. Yeah. I mean, he's in a city, a sacred city where they are building up their character. They in the sacred grove. Right. Because Mary was looking for her son because she know they just came out of the great feast. Right. You know, and that feast of that consciousness, that food for thought is what I thought of when they said the great feast. I'm like, ooh, I would love to be in that sacred grove. You know, but Jesus was disputing with the law, with the doctors of the law. You know, and that lets you know how powerful they respected the youth. In which we need to practice more today, because the youth can teach us something. Jesus was only 12 years old, right? I'm assuming that he was 12 years old, and he's disputing with the doctors of the law. I think that's wonderful that he had parents that set examples. I also touched on when he said, and Jesus said, do you not know that I must be about my Father's work? When his mother found him, and I was saying, you know, when you instill. When Mary, it got away from Mary real quick. What she instilled in him. When you instilled in him unshakable faith like that, we know that faith is the surety of the omnipotence of man. Right.
You know, the certainty that man will reach the deific life.
Right.
So when you instill that type of faith in a young child,
Mhm.
he's going to be fearless.
Right.
So when they all panicked for 2 days,
Mhm.
they thought some great danger overtaking them. I'm
Right.
paraphrasing.
Mhm.
You know, he told his mother, he said, look, I got to be about my father's work. You know, you know what you prepared me for. You forgot.
It says some great harm have
Right.
overtaken you.
Mhm.
But look at that, because he has this youthful energy and this fearless. He has courage enough for truth, and he's carrying out his father's work. Doesn't mean that Mary wasn't, like you
Mm-mm.
said, but quickly she went to the
Mother mode.
mother mode,
Mother
but
mode, and
in this
Mhm.
physical, or this manifest, on the plane of manifest
Manifest.
mentality, you know, a
Mhm.
mundane, like he's safe. She forgot.
Hmm.
Well, I don't think she forgot. I just think that she went into the mother mode.
Yeah, well, man is truth and falsehood strangely mixed. You know,
Right.
so it happens, and she still have a lower self.
And you still have
know,
to protect your children.
When you have a lower self, doubt can always creep in.
Doubt can always creep
You know,
in.
that's of our own raising.
Right.
You know,
and that's why when he went to journey, you see the twos that were mentioned.
right.
The twos are mentioned, and this is
Mhm.
a reminder. He's with his father,
Mhm.
working out this life steps,
Yes.
climbing that ladder of salvation. But
Mhm.
where we at now?
Well, yeah, I just was reading, going through the tools and saying, I was just we use the square to measure all our lines.
Right.
To straighten out the crooked places of the way and make the corners of our conduct square. We use the compass to draw the circles around our passions and desires to keep them in the bounds of righteousness. We use the axe to cut away the knotty, useless, and ungainly parts and make the character symmetrical. And I was explaining how, symmetrical means even on both sides.
Right.
So we have to have a balance. Says keep thy soul in moderation.
Right.
One of the maxims of truth said, teach him temperance.
Right.
Which is moderation.
Right.
Teach him temperance and he shall have health.
Right.
So when we do things in moderation, which is a balance,
right,
that's the character being symmetrical.
Right.
Being even on both sides.
Right.
You have to have a balance. Then we use the hammer to drive home the truth and pound it in until it is a part of every part. We use the plane to smooth the rough, uneven surface of joint, and block and board that go to build the temple for the truth. Because that's what we're trying to build, this temple for the truth.
Right.
This temple for the truth. We're trying to build it
right.
for the truth, because it has to be built up to receive truth. Right. We have to be built up to receive truth, because that's where where the courage.
Right.
That's where the courage coming at.
Well, you have to have courage to receive the truth.
Truth. Right. Absolutely. And I was also explaining about the fourth temple. The third temple. This is the third temple. Remember, we were correlating the temples with the chakras, these 7 temples we're going to run through.
Right. Okay.
This is the third temple, the temple in Samaria, which correlates with the third chakra.
Right.
I'm not. And when we say that, we're not talking about in our Quran.
Right.
We're just talking about. I said in the beginning of this season that in Egypt, our ancient forefathers dredged and made the Nile River.
Right.
And the Nile River have 7 major temples that was built along the Nile River, and those temples were complementary to our chakras.
Right.
Because the river was symbolic to the river that flows within us.
Right.
The Kundalini energy.
Right.
And the chakras and the temples correlated together.
Okay.
That was not that that's in our Quran. I don't want to, confuse anyone, but we just at the third temple in our literature, which is the temple in Samaria, and then we're gonna get ready to cross over to the fourth one, the temple of Jaguar, which is the fourth chakra, green. That's why we went on the green.
Right.
Was symbolic to the heart chakra.
Right.
Green, and it's also green represents Venus. That's why our 5-pointed star is green, and the center is green,
and it represents love,
truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
So the chisel line, the plummet, and the saw all have their uses in the workshop of the mind. And then this ladder with its trinity of steps: faith, hope, and love, On it, we climb up to the dome of purity and life. And on the 12-step ladder, we ascend until we reach the pinnacle of that which life is spent to build the temple of perfected man.
Mm-hmm.
So praise Allah for that. And we're going to just jump right over into chapter 6, life and works of Jesus in India among the Muslims. And that will be representing the temple of Jagannath, which is the fifth temple that we have.
The fourth.
The fourth, okay.
On the fourth temple, which correlates in ancient Egypt, the fourth temple correlates with the fourth chakra, which would be the heart chakra.
Right. Okay.
Which color is green.
Mm-hmm. And can also be pink at times. But that's another demonstration. Mm-hmm. But go ahead.
Okay, we're gonna talk about Jagannath.
Yeah. And so you're gonna read this.
This is about a royal prince of India, Ravana, in the south, was met at the Jewish feast to go feast again.
Right.
The Jewish feast. Ravana was a man of wealth. He was just, and with the band of Brahmic priests sought wisdom in the west. When Jesus stood among the Jewish priests and read and spoke, Ravana heard and was amazed. And when he asked who Jesus was, from whence he came, and what he was, Chief Hillel said, "We call this day star from on high, for he has come to bring to men a light, the light of life, to lighten up the way of men and redeem his people of Israel." And Hillel told Ravana all about the child, about the prophecies concerning him, about the wonders of the night when he was born, about the visit of the Magian priests, about the way in which he was protected from the wrath of evil men, about his flight to Egypt land, and how he then was serving with his father as a carpenter in Nazareth. Ravana was entranced and asked to know the way to Nazareth, that he might go and honor such a one as son of Allah.
Right.
And with his gorgeous train, he journeyed and came to Nazareth of Galilee. He found the object of his search engaged in building dwellings for the sons of men. And when he first saw Jesus, he was climbing up a 12-step ladder, and he carried in his hands a compass, square, and axe. Ravana said, "All hail, most favorite son of heaven." And at the end, Ravana made a feast for all the people of the town. And Jesus and his parents were the honored guests. For certain days, Ravana was a guest in Joseph's home on Marmion Way. He sought to learn the secret of the wisdom of the sun, but it was all too great for him. And then he asked that he might be the patron of the child, might take him to the east, where he could learn the wisdom of the Brahms. And Jesus longed to go, that he might learn. And after many days, his parents gave consent. Then with proud heart, Ravana with his train began the journey toward the rising sun. And after many days, they crossed the sand and reached the provinces of Orissa and the palace of the prince. The Brahmic priests were glad to welcome home the prince with favor. They received the Jewish boy, and Jesus was accepted as a pupil in the temple of Jagannath. And here he learned the Vedas and the Manic law. Then it says the Brahmic masters wondered at the clear conceptions of the child and often were amazed when he explained to them the meaning of the law. So at 12, he already understood the meaning of the Manic law. That's a high degree.
Praise Allah.
The meaning of the Manic law.
Praise Allah.
You know, that's dealing with mental health. You know, that's loaded. That's a lot to unpack.
Yes, it
you
is.
know, the Manic law. Wow.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but this all took place in Temple Jagannath. That's the fourth temple.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about Jagannath.
Well, Jagannath is
Royal Prince in India.
Jagannath is the fourth temple. And they taught about the Vedas, you know, the Vedas, the Vedas, you know, one of the books that talks about the second Vedas, the Samara Vedic talks about the sacred chants and different. That's a very powerful book, the Vedas, and the Manic law. You know, we still haven't even scratched the surface.
Wow.
You know, when it comes to the Manic law.
And he's still in the temple because it says he found the object of the search engaged in the temple the building dwellings for the sons of men. Speaking about the temple, so his duty was to visit these temples, make sure the laws are carried out, and that's what we are supposed to. He said, "What I have done, all man shall do. What I am, all man shall be." You understand? He knows his journey. He knows what he accomplished, and he knows what can be done. And when we believe that we can make an impact on humanity and our families, we believe by being in our temples, making our meetings, and following the law, because that's what he's talking about here.
Right.
You know, following the laws, we can accomplish many things. You know, you be rewarded with merit.
That's right.
On the credit side of life, when you do right.
You know? And when we you know, you just said making our own meetings. You know, it was recorded that the prophet said, make your meetings even if you got to crawl. You know, what's very important about the meetings is because the meetings is where the healing start. You know, the meetings are where the healing it happens. So it's just like a person who suffers from alcoholism. Right. You know, one who suffers from drug abuse. How do they get healed? They have to make their meetings. Right. You know, we coming in for people out of darkness, of people who were taught that they were Negroes, colored folks, black people, Ethiopians. We coming from that dead state of being. We were a sick people. You know, so you have to make your meetings. That's where the healing begins. That's where the healing make your meetings. You know, no different from a Alcohol Anonymous meeting. Right. No different from a 12-step program. Right. If you're a drug abuser. Right. You know, this is a different spiritual meeting because we were a different type of sick. Right. And don't get me wrong, those illness came with us too, alcoholism and drug abuse. So, you know, I just praise Allah for this demonstration which you were speaking of. I learned by having family members who have had those addictions that it was really hard for them. Because it was a time and an era where this took place. Right. And I watched the struggle. So I always said to myself, I would never do drugs. Right. Never. Because I saw that was what they coped. That was a coping mechanism. We learned that. And it's a part of hiding yourself. Drugs and all those abuse. And so no judgment, no blame, because the prophet sits amongst all of the courtesans and the thieves and those who may have these shortcomings. Right. And so when you have a tool that you can use to help you get out of those addictions, that's a beautiful thing. That's you can change your life. And sometimes it takes longer than it will for others. But it's important to note that they are striving. You know, and I give honor to those who have striving and those who do make their meetings and able to make that change in life. I know it's not easy. You know, watching it for many years. I mean, we've been around for a little while. Well, what's important, what I found important to me, and I've learned this at a very young age, that when you see people struggling in that way, is the best thing to do is to learn their story. Yeah. So sometimes, you know, we don't take the time out to learn people's story and their journey and how they ended up there. You know, sometimes when you find out about some of the life sums that they had to deal with, you know, because nobody wants to be that way. Nobody wants to be. You know, it's not even in your nature to want to be that way. You get, you know, things happen. You know, one thing leads to another, and before you know it, you know, look at us as a nation. Look what happened to us. One thing led to another, and before you know it, we talking about we black, we Negroes. And then behaving like that, you know. So you know, that's another form of being out of your mind. We have to always be, you know, aware of our own circumstances, and like you said, to have some empathy, you know, or sympathy for those who have the struggle. Because just because a person that can be on drugs may have a better character than a person that's not. Right. You know, they have this manners. They always saying thank you. I've seen, you know, so we want to be careful not to be judgmental. And I, like I said, I watched it, you know. And it's a disease. I watched it, you know, growing up in my community, people that we grew up with and we love. And you watch their lives and their life sums and how they had to solve them.
and it wasn't always in the best way.
Right.
But now that we have this opportunity to have this be a part of this divine and national movement, we can help influence and inspire others. Let them know this does work, because this is what Jesus is being rewarded. You know, he said he was accepted, right?
Yes, he's accepted as a pupil.
He was accepted as a pupil. You know, the Brahmic priests were glad to welcome home the prince with favor. They received the Jewish boy, and with favor, because they know he was sincere, he was diligent, he was consistent in the work that he do. Wow. And he was still climbing up that 12-step ladder. Now I think he's still 12 years old.
And for the untrained ear that's listening to this, when we say Jewish boy, we're not talking about Europeans. We're talking about the original Hebrew Jews out off the continent of Africa. You know, and that's Jesus' bloodline. We're talking about historical Jesus. We're not talking about the one that was made up. Historical Jesus was a Hebrew Jew. He was of African descent. So, you know, so we got to retrain ourselves. We have to give back their teachings. You know, we hear the word Jewish and we start thinking European. You know, so that's European psychology.
Right.
You know, when you hear historical Jesus, Jewish boy, we talking about a person of African descent.
That's right.
You know, right. African descent. Don't get it mixed up when we say Jewish or Hebrew.
That's right. And so, I mean, this is a loaded chapter, and because we lost a little time in the beginning, we had to go back over. Yeah. So there's no happening, log of and all events.
Y'all had me on mute.
We didn't have you on mute. We didn't do that on purpose. I call myself multitasking and saying we would meet again. Wow. We definitely.
And you know that it came across my mind when I was reading. At one point, I said, I hope I'm not muted. Oh, because I know, you know, we have done that before. I said, I hope I'm not muted. I did say that. It did cross my mind.
Thank you.
But I didn't act on it.
Yeah, Brother Wasabi said, thank you for that clarification, Sheik.
Yes, because, you know, sometimes they say the Moors don't lost their mind. They talking about Jews. They be like, I don't know about the Moors. They up there talking about the Jews. And
when I learned that we are the original Jews, I used to, not knowing how to explain it, I used to say, we the original Jews, just because I heard somebody say it. But the prophet breaks it down for us.
It's a, you know, Hebrew Israelite, it's a nationality, you know.
Right.
From, you know, from Israel, you know. But, you know, things happen over time. People adopt nationalities, especially with us, because, you know, it's easy to adopt our nationalities and our ancient cultures. Why?
Right.
Because our ancient fathers are the founders of the first religious creed for the redemption and salvation for mankind on earth. Right. So it's easy for everybody to jack us.
Right.
But we can't get mad because it's, you know, it's a lot of science in our ancient cultures.
Listen, Mo, no man live unto himself. For every living thing is bound by course to every other living thing. Then we go to the brotherhood.
Right.
The universal Allah is one, yet He is more than one. All things are one.
Right.
By the sweet breath of Allah, all life is bound in one. So that's not what. Oh, and Jesus said to them, with much delight, I speak to you concerning life, the brotherhood of life. That's the brotherhood of life. Because you hear people say, I'm an Israelite, I'm this and I'm that.
Well,
but when we can see the oneness in humanity, if you just you looking in the direction of peace, we thinking in the same direction. It doesn't matter what all those names. It's only one human race anyway.
And you know, to add to what I just demonstrated about the Jewish demonstration in the Christian Bible. Right, in the book of Revelations, I believe it's Revelations 14. I'm not sure. You can look it up, but it talks about the Jews. It says, the one who called himself a Jew and who is not a Jew, and then it refers to them as the synagogue of Satan. Now, that's not very big words. That's in the Bible, and I know throughout these last centuries, we wasn't calling ourselves Jews.
Right.
You see? So it talks about the one who calls himself Jew, but is not a Jew. You know, so that's in the book. You know, that's in the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but the genealogy of Jesus. That's right. Question 20. That's right. Now, questionnaire gives the genealogy.
Yes, it does.
Of historical Jesus, not the one that was made up in 322, I believe, the Nicene Council. The Constantine and them created a Jesus. You know, we gotta, you know, you can't get the histories mixed up. So when you hear Jewish boy or Jew, know that we're talking about a brother of African descent.
So can I just read the questionnaire from 24 to 27?
Of course.
It says, who was Jesus? He was a prophet of Allah. Where was he born? In Bethlehem of Judah, in the house of David. How were his father? Who was his mother and father and mother? Joseph and Mary. Will you give in brief the line genealogy through which Jesus came? Some of the great fathers through which Jesus came are Abraham, Boaz by Ruth, Jesse, King David, Solomon, Hezekiah, and Joseph by Mary. Ooh.
That's right.
And why did Allah send Jesus to the earth? To save the Israelites from the iron hand oppression of the pale-skinned nation of Europe, who were governing a portion of Palestine at that time.
But notice how I said to save the Israelites from the pale-skinned nation. So see that there was a difference.
There was.
See, Israelites were Asiatics. It says to save the Israelites from the iron hand oppression of the pale-skinned nations
of Europe.
There's a difference. This is real history right here. Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought real history. It's not that pseudo history.
And how long has that been? About
2,000 years ago. Yeah.
So the science is connected. It's a matter of just opening up your heart and your mind. You know, let Venus take charge.
Right. Right.
Let Venus take charge and you can receive, you know, but there's no pressure, you know, because, you know, Allah meets you where you are. You know, there's no big eyes or little U's.
Listen, the prophet came and put us back on the main line.
That's right.
You know,
that's right.
He mended the broken wires and connected us back to the higher powers.
Right.
He put us back on the main line. We know we once was lost, now we're found. You know, so we don't want people don't get nervous because we found, you know, the link was brought back to us.
Right.
You know, the connection. You know, we talk about we these people, we built the pyramids. We say these things, but do we really live it? Do we really know it? You know, are we really being it? You know, if we are the descendants of those ancient Asiatic or African people of African descent,
right?
You know, how do we make those connections?
Yes,
you know, that's why chapter 47.
I like what Sister B reads, but she said we on the main line.
Yes, put us back.
That's right. We on the main line. We on the main line, and we want to stay on the main line because that's where we find our salvation.
That's right.
That's what our salvation is, and just keep working out.
And when we read these from these chapters, you know, we read in these divine instructions, I can't express it enough. It's historical, but it's also contemporary.
Right.
You know, this is spirit, and this is what's going on in each and every one of us each and every day.
That's right.
This is not some ancient, you know, philosophy that really has nothing to do with the now. You know, no, this is not just that type of empty dogma. You know, this is about you.
You know, I want to go back to, we have a few more minutes where I asked the question, why is Galilee so important to Jesus? Because remember that they was in Galilee. Right. And many of Jesus' teachings and miracles were performed in Galilee, is what I learned. And it says, which we read about the book of Matthews. And Jesus went about all Galilee, teaching their synagogues, the preaching the gospel and the kingdom, and healing all manner of sickness and all manner of disease amongst the people. That's in Matthews, you know, 4:23. And so I wanted to share that because I just realized I had notes. So it's all coming together now. We usually take time to warm up in the beginning when Brother Berry is opening up.
And then, you know, when we're talking about historical Jesus from what you just read, not only we understand that that's one of our ancient forefathers,
right?
You know, we also, you know, people say, well, you know, Jesus never existed. You know, that's just a story. to say that Jesus never existed is to deny your own existence. You know, let me tell you the twisted logic in that thinking is this. You would sit here and say that Jesus never existed, but then you would talk about Heru, Asar. You go back thousands of years before Jesus,
Right.
and you would claim all of that,
but
but say Jesus never existed.
I didn't know that was
When you go back to the stories of Heru,
right.
it's the same stories. So you
Okay.
can't say that Jesus never existed. The spirit, the pattern has always been here. You know, those spirits always reincarnate.
Yep. They do
You know,
reincarnate.
praise Allah.
Praise Allah. That was a quick lesson. Thank you for that. Praise Allah. So, you have any closing remarks? We down to the last hour. I really appreciate all the love and the comments. And
Praise
the viewers
Allah.
for
And once
tuning
again,
in and being patient.
we
with us.
apologize for that.
We
that
really do.
that muting, that silent.
But that lets you know that we don't really premeditate what we may study together or read some things together or know what we're going to touch on, but we're not always ready for you in that way. So we were multitasking, and we apologize for the tardiness and the
We weren't late.
Well,
we just
they couldn't hear you, so you was late.
No, you were late.
You're right. Praise Allah. So we thank
the
you.
technical difficulties.
The technical difficulty. That is the proper terminology. We thank you, Moors, again for tuning in to this great meeting, because that's what it is, the great feast. We hope that you received something that you can make a part of your studies and bring back to us, that make us examine what we think we know, you know, or what we're learning, I should say, because we continuously learn.
That's
You
right.
never stop learning, you know.
That's right.
Sometimes we see something one way, and then the next day we may see it another. So praise Allah and honors to the Prophet. You say no closing words. I'm going to make them.
No closing words. We make the remark.
So I'll make announcements. We please tune in this Friday, Holy Day, on our national page for Holy Day meeting at 7:30. Then we have Sunday school at 2 p.m. Praise Allah. And then I think Real Talk had their season finale. So praise Allah for that, and they'll be back next season. And we shall see you again. We have said enough. We see you again at the rise of the sun on another Wellness Wednesday, and we will leave you in
peace on earth, goodwill to men. Peace, Moors.
Peace, Muslims. Peace.